your habits, your daily habits dictate where you're going to be 5 years from now. I can look at a guy's daily habits and know whether or not he's going to succeed. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? What do you do before you step into practice? What do you do during practice? What are your habits here? What are your habits there? Because, I mean, and that's not only in basketball or baseball or football, like that's in life.
Pursuit of Greatness, another episode, man. I am Stu Holt here with a great guest, man. He's a mental toughness coach. He is the mental toughness development coordinator. Ooh, I got it. Was that it? Was that it?
You got it, bro.
That was it. That was it. He is here with us right now, man. He's a visionary. Man, he is a speaker. Diamyn Hall is in the building.
Yeah, we doing.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man, taking out your time, your busy schedule to come here and have this conversation, man. I'm excited.
Me too, man.
I'm excited, man. It's something that we've been trying to get going for a while. You know what I mean?
A minute.
A minute.
What about a 3-month process?
Like a 3-month process.
Finally here, bro.
Finally here. So I want to get started with the fact that you being at Wright State, right?
Yeah.
How did that even happen?
So throughout my high school career, while I was playing baseball, our head coach at Wright State, you know, he was recruiting me, and this is when he was at Western Kentucky. Okay. So I ended up going to Grambling State University. I got a full right there. So after I got done with my career, you know, he had always known that I was big on this part of the game, on the mental strength part of the game, right? So we linked up after the season was over, after my career was over. We were like, let's do something that's never been done before, because at the end of the day, everybody knows this is the most important piece. And you've heard the game is 90% mental, 10% physical, right?
Right.
So we linked up, we made it happen, and honestly, at the end of the day, he's the pioneer of this position. And I feel like he got the best person to do the job at the end of the day, right? And now he ended up getting a head coaching job at IU.
Oh, okay.
So that's where he's at now.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. You know, because like you said, they say it's 90% mental, 10% physical, but rarely do we really focus on that 90%.
We don't.
You know what I mean? We go full-fledged on the physical, but miss out on the mental key.
Yep.
You know, and you see a lot of people who are capable, right? But
Absolutely.
they're not able to perform. Mm-hmm. So as an athlete yourself, when you were an athlete, do you think that you were mentally tough?
Absolutely. And I think it came from me understanding this part of the game, me studying this part of the game day after day. I read a book called The Outliers, right?
I read that.
About, did you read that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes. You know the chapter about the 10,000 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've always, you know, embodied and taken from that book and put into my life and in my game. So me understanding this was one of the most important pieces to the game. You know, I study day in and day out, not only on the mental side of the game, but, you know, the physical side too. So I took those 10,000 hours, that 10,000 hour rule, and applied that to learning day after day about this, which ended up, you know, getting to me where I got to. So.
And that's amazing, man, because, you know, like I was saying, that's in sports and really in anything, nothing happens until the mind, it starts in the mind.
Yep.
It starts in the mind, right? So how does somebody make sure that their mindset is tough, like it's strong, like it's they're having the right thoughts? How does somebody do that?
I think it all boils down to confidence at the end of the day. With anything that you do, you have to have confidence. But the thing is, we're not taught, you know, how to tap into our confidence at all times. And that's what I think, you know, most players miss out on. And that's what I was able to help our team do this past year. Just giving our guys a few keys, a few tools in order to tap into their own confidence. And at the end of the day, you got to remember too that, you know, with the mind, everybody's different. So everybody's mental strength, everybody's mental toughness is going to be a little bit different than this person's over here. So you as a basketball coach, right? So your team, when you look at your team, it's different things are going to work to tap into your players' confidence. Like it's not going to be you say one thing to everybody and then everybody's confidence shoots up, right? It's you have to understand this player. You have to be able to invest in understanding each guy to a T, to where now you know how they receive information.
Right.
So you can give that information to them in the way they receive it, which then, you know, boosts their confidence. And that's just a small smidget what I do. So
right. And so I was going to ask you, like, what does it look like? Like, what you do, what does that look like on a daily basis? Like, is it just like what does that look like?
So I'll give you an example. One of our best players this past year, he got drafted in the 4th round. Me and him spent the NBA, not NBA, it was the NCAA championship game on the phone, just bouncing ideas back and forth, back and forth. And my boy Jerron Simmons, he plays for Michigan, right? So I wasn't able to watch his game. I was spending time investing in, one of my players. But that's what it takes. That's the kind of investment it takes as a mental strength coach, and even as a regular coach. Like at the end of the day, you should, all coaches should teach themselves how to be their own mental strength coach, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not always going to have money to hire somebody who does this.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's a lot of investment, a lot of getting to know our players, a lot of trust building, a lot of relationship building, and then understanding them as players, what works best for them, and how to tap into that.
Right. That's very important because everybody's mind is, like you said, it's different. So every piece of advice is not for the same person. You know what I mean? And I think that's very crucial for, me being a coach, I see that, right? There's different personalities, different backgrounds, right? Different pressures in life for each person that you got to be able to have a tailored sense of, you know what I mean? That each player can get the best out of what you're saying. Absolutely. And so when it comes to this word here is where a lot of people crumble, right? So where they say it make diamonds, but it also bursts pipes, and that's pressure. That's pressure. And in sports, man, people in the stands, family members, friends watching you, teammates that are depending on you, a coach that's trying to coach you, all of these different things. Even the fact that you have dreams and goals and you're trying to be the best that you can be, you done worked out, and you feel like pressure, man. And it comes from multiple different directions. How does a player deal with pressure?
You prepare for it. You prepare for pressure. How you prepare for pressure is understanding your focus. When you're focusing on all the things that you just talked about, your coach coaching you, the scouts that's there, right? The goal to actually win the game. Right. Your parents are in the stands, your friends are in the stands, everybody's everywhere, right? That means your focus is on things that are outside of your control. One thing I always talk about, especially with basketball players, is being able to focus on the things that are within your control. And those things are, obviously transition by transition, playing the game, one transition at a time in basketball terms. And that's when you're able to really tap into that and only focus on the present moment, like only focus on what's going on right now in the task at hand, that's when everything else drowns out. And that's what we have to focus on at all times, especially players, because it's so easy to be on the court like, oh, South Carolina's here, oh, Clemson's here. You have to be able to have the discipline to not even look in the stands, not even care. Because at the end of the day, you put in hours and hours and hours and hours into this game, right? So your body already knows what needs to happen. You just have to direct your focus in order for it to get the job done. But if you get distracted by these outside sources, things that are outside of your control, you're setting yourself up for failure.
And see, that's the thing, man. With the whole being present, that's really what it is. That's really because a lot of times we're thinking about the last play, we're thinking about a future play, we're thinking about the wrong things. Like our mind is not where it needs to be, and that's where the pressure starts getting to you. Yep. You know what I mean? You're allowing all of these other obstacles, things you can't control, allow you to affect what you can control.
Yeah.
Right? And that's being present, that's being the best that you could be at that very play. And the thing also is the inner voice. That's where I feel like it messes up a lot of people. They're at the free throw line, the ball's in their hands. When you at the free throw line, all eyes are on you when it comes to basketball.
Yep.
Right? The play is stopped, the ball's in your hands, the ref didn't pass you the ball, everybody's looking at you. And a lot of times that inner voice how does somebody control
you
that
train
inner
it.
voice?
You train that inner voice. That's what you forget to do too. You have to train that inner voice. So every time you step up to the free throw line, even in practice, you have to be training that inner voice to work to your advantage. Everybody has a good wolf and a bad wolf, so to say, right? And that's your self-talk. So if you're feeding that negative wolf, that shit's gonna get stronger. If you choose to feed that confident wolf, That's what's going to get stronger. So we have to first become aware, because awareness activates ability at the end of the day. Once you become aware of your self-talk in those situations, now you can train your self-talk in those situations. I mean, we've all seen like Michael Jordan, Kobe, them in practice, 3, 2, 1, boom, buzzer beater, right? They're practicing for the actual situation. And they may not even know it, but that's what they're doing subconsciously, right? Now, imagine if we do that on purpose, with purpose.
Wow. So it all comes down to prepping the mind, training the mind.
Yep. Being aware. Awareness is key, because, I mean, this is something that's, just now getting big as far as, mental strength, mental conditioning, peak performance, being able to control your mind, being able to unlock your potential, your physical potential through your mind, right? So once we become aware of how important it is, now we become aware of other things in our own minds, then we can control those things. Awareness activates ability. So once you become aware of something, that activates your ability to then change, improve, or take out whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
And that's so true, because I've heard people say like it's hard to you can't confront something or something that you don't know that's there, right? So awareness, knowing exactly where you are, where you know what I mean, it's a huge part of it.
Yep.
It's a huge part of it. And so so I want to give you these different scenarios, right? Scenarios as a coach that I've seen in multiple. I've seen it so much, and I'm like, how would a player deal with this, right? Yeah. Let's start with this one, right? One of them you already touched on, which is like playing in front of college coaches and just saying, being present, right? So when it comes to a player, it's a big game. This is the big game. Everybody's there, right? And they're like, you can tell like, he don't seem like himself. What do you tell that player? It's a big game, big night.
I would say it would start even before that big game. You have to prepare for those big games. I would consider that as a form of pressure, right? But those big games, we have to be able to, the higher the stakes become, the more relaxed we have to become, the more calm we have to become. Think about Kobe Bryant, think about Michael Jordan. When that moment came, when those big games came, they always produced.
Right.
They always produced. And I think, you asking that question from a coach's perspective, it's just a matter of knowing that player, like, what's going to click with him? And that comes from a relationship that you've built with him over the course of the season. And I think that, just even, a small reminder, bro, this is still basketball.
Right.
Only thing that's different is everything outside of the court. Free throw line's still the same. Basket's still 10 feet tall, right? So being able to remind them that it's still basketball, it's still the same game you go and practice in the practice gym. Only thing that's different is you allowing that pressure to seep in and you focusing on those things outside of your control. So we have to just reel them back in sometimes. And I think that's a huge key, especially for coaches, being able to just throw out those little reminders and empower their players at certain times. Just let them know, like, bro, you got this. This is nothing. Like, let them know it's nothing. They're like, oh, coach is right. And they go out there and perform. As opposed to letting it go, not saying anything, and it's like you leave it up to chance. It's a 50-50 chance.
Right.
You leave it up to them, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the best way to approach those situations.
What about a player about to take a big shot? Is that the same thing?
Give me a detailed scenario.
Okay, so it's 1 second to go.
1 second to go.
1 second to go. 3 seconds. Let's give it 3
seconds.
We in the huddle. The ball's going to this player, right? It's going in his hands. And he's nervous. What do you tell him? One shot for the game, for the win. Even if it's a baseball player, they about to go up at bat. They about to go up at 2 outs.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
So one thing that I always talk about, even before the season starts and even during the season, you remind guys, right? Pressure is about perception. It's all about perception. So if you view that situation, you perceive that situation as like a huge ass situation, like, oh man, this this is it right here. Or it's just like, oh man, like this is just another game. Like the same thing we kind of talked about before. And then being able to focus on the things that are only within your control right now. So another thing I talk about is like win. When you look at the word win, right? You got what's important now. That's how you actually win a game. Win plus win plus win. So now plus now plus now. You only take it 1 second at a time, one transition at a time. Now in that case, 3 seconds left. I'm only going to focus on knocking this shot down. You see the back of the basket. You have that external cue, and you let it fly. That's why Steph Curry, I feel, is like he's one of the best, one of the best shooters in the game. And I put this out on, I think it was my Twitter, a video of him talking about breathing. He said he took a tip from a PGA Tour guy who told him that in order to slow the game down so it doesn't speed up on you, I just focus on my breath. That's it. I just focus on my breathing. Every time I shoot, I focus on my breath. Right? Because your breath allows you to get oxygen to your brain. It allows you to slow the game down. It allows you to do so many different things that work to your advantage, but we forget about that. Just breathe. Just breathe and shoot. Work on the things that are within your control. Don't let anything else outside of your control distract you, because if you do, now you're giving yourself a lesser probability of you actually succeeding. And at the end of the day, you want to succeed. So you have to focus on the things that are within your control. And pressure is about perception. This is nothing.
That's deep, man, because we all know Steph Curry, he's the best shooter of all time. You know what I mean?
I study that man inside and out, bro.
So what are some things that you found, like when you
like him talking about those small things, being able to focus on his breathing, his pregame routines, doing the same thing every day. And a lot of people usually mix that up with superstition, right? I got to do the same thing every single day. No, your routine is part of your preparation. Preparation breeds persistency. Persistency breeds results. When you're able to become persistent within your process, that's when you get the results that you want. So your pregame routine, that's a part of your process. And some guys may be like, I don't need a pregame routine. I don't want to. That's fine. And this is your process. Everybody has a different process, right? And for those people who don't know what a process is a set of things that allow you to give yourself the best probability to succeed at the end of the day. So for baseball players, their pre-pitch process will be standing outside of the box, telling themselves that they're a fucking monster. So just being able to understand what your process is and work at your process day after day, so that you give yourself the best probability to succeed.
And Eric Thomas, the GOAT, right? E.T., the hip hop preacher, motivational speaker, he said your greatness is in your routine, right? It's in your routine, what you do daily, right? A lot of people get bored with the process. They get bored with doing the same thing over and over and over again. But that's where the greatness lies, right? That's where that being in love with the details, being able to do the small things every single day. This word greatness, right? It's like this thing in the air.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like The Pursuit of Happiness, the movie.
Right.
Right. It's like, okay, when do you know you there?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you have a big goal, it can become overwhelming. When you say, I want to be a professional athlete, but I'm here right now, and you just see it, right? Yeah. It can become overwhelming because you have that big vision, but then you got to be able to come back to that small step.
Right. So I think being able to dominate wherever you are at that certain moment, that goes back to present moment focus, right? Being able to focus on winning, what's important now. Because if you look too far ahead, now I do think we should set goals outside of our reach at the end of the day, but you got to be able to put those goals on the back shelf and then focus on the small things that are going to add up to that goal. So being able to dominate wherever you are, if you want to be in the NBA, but right now you're a senior in high school, you need to dominate right now. You need to do your best right now.
Right.
You dominate right now, now you're one step closer. Now you're in college, you're playing at a D1, right? Now you're a freshman. You have to be the best freshman on that team. You have to be the best freshman in the country. That should be the goal. And you go about the small steps in order to reach that goal.
Right. Dominating where you are. Because there's levels to everything. I just said that with the past interview that we just did. There's levels to everything.
To everything. And then going back to routines, what we were talking about earlier. Consistent routines build consistent habits. And it's all about habits at the end of the day. Your habits, your daily habits dictate where you're going to be 5 years from now. I can look at a guy's daily habits and know whether or not he's going to succeed. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? What do you do before you step into practice? What do you do during practice? What are your habits here? What are your habits there? Because, I mean, and that's not only in basketball or baseball or football, like that's in life. Like if you want to become $1 million company, you have to have habits that $1 million companies have. If you want to become $1 million basketball player, $1 million baseball player, you have to build those same habits, those same characteristics that those $1 million basketball players and $1 million baseball players have. So you have to study those guys and then figure out a way to add it to your habits, your routines, your repertoire, so to say, your portfolio.
I remember one thing I told my players is you can't have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. You know what I mean? Like if you want that, if you want something, you've got to be willing to do what it takes to get it, right? Study that person, like you said, study that person, this person who actually got it. You know what I mean? See how they did it, what they do daily. You know what I mean? Yeah. Studying, and that's a word right there that I think that Kobe and MJ and Steph Curry, and that word right there is what they have in common. So talk about the importance of that.
I think, have you read Relentless by Tim Grover?
Yep. And it's crazy. I just gave one of my players that book.
I was about to say, you got to give that out to the team.
Bruh, I got to.
You have to give that out to the team. And he talks about separating competitors in there, good, great, and unstoppable. And being able to, study like an unstoppable player would study. So the people we just talked about, right? Those three, Kobe, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry. You look at any of their interviews, they're talking about studying the greats when they were coming up. Steph Curry, he had his dad in the game. Right? Kobe had his dad in the game. Michael Jordan, he studied the greats. He studied Magic Johnson, all these great players. Film after film after film. They always talk about film. And they're, whether it's their own film or whether it's one of the greats' films. But being able to set aside, this goes back to the daily routines, having a daily routine where you set aside a whole hour just to study one of the greats and pick different things that he's doing and be able to add it to your game. Same thing from a coach's perspective.
Right.
Look at Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich. What are they doing differently than everybody else to where they breed the best teams in the history of the game? Is it their composure during the games? Because when I look at Phil Jackson, and I look at his video throughout, a lot of these championships, he's here. He's always staying level. Always staying level. And that's another thing I talk about is being able to be composed in pressure situations, being able to stay level, because at the end of the day, that allows you to regulate yourself, right? Your heart rate stays down in a normal state. If you're composed, if you're poised. Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, not yet. Steph Curry, they've mastered this. They've taken a mastery approach to all of these things, and I think that's another element to think about, to add to your teachings as a coach, and all of us as coaches, to be able to get our players to take a mastery approach to whatever it is they're trying to achieve. Because sometimes we don't take that mastery approach. It's like, I want to do the least amount of work in order to get here. It's not how it works. Does that make sense?
Right. What is mastery?
Mastery is understanding that whatever you're trying to achieve can be achieved, but through very, very smart and hard work on a persistent basis. Persistency is key. Persistency is key.
And see, when I think of mastery, man, I think of somebody who is like a person. I see a person, if I try to picture that, I see a person just like day in, day out, you know what I mean? Just chipping away, just like this word right here. I love this word. A lot of people use this word as a negative, like try to use it in a negative way. But I've watched interviews after interviews, like you said, studying Kobe and all these different people. And it's one word that I always hear people say. And I'm like, there's something to it. And that's the word obsessed. Obsessed. You see what I'm saying? Yep. I see somebody, you know, being so obsessed, loving the small things that everybody else is like, dang, I mean, I didn't even think about that. Loving film, like studying film on your own, not just when the team is doing it, right? Because a lot of people, okay, the team watching film, I'm watching film. The team practicing, I'm practicing. But when everybody leaves,
what are you doing differently?
What are you doing differently?
Yep.
What are you doing to separate yourself?
Yep.
That's really the key. What are you doing that's going to take you away from the pack? That's going to make you stand out? Because sports is competitive, right? So what are you doing? What are you willing to do? That really comes down to that question. Absolutely. What are you willing to do? And in a lot of cases, what are you willing not to do? Yeah. Right? And that comes from that word sacrifice. You've been around athletes so much. Talk about that word, sacrifice.
Being able to sacrifice playing Fortnite every day, right? That's our player stuff right now, playing Fortnite. You got to sacrifice 30 minutes in order to study film. You got to sacrifice 30 minutes in order to visualize your success at the end of the day.
Right.
You have to be able to sacrifice the things that you hold close to you, that make you happy, that make you that you consider as fun, right? To do things that you may not necessarily want to do, but that will allow you to get to where you want to get to at the end of the day. That's what sacrifice is. You may have to sacrifice a little bit of family time. You may have to sacrifice a little bit of time over here, time over there. But back to Relentless, what Tim Grover said, the best understand, or the greatest understand, that in order to reach their goal at the end of the day, they have to be willing to make major sacrifices and understand that they may not be the best boyfriend in the world because I have to sacrifice a little bit over here in order to get up here in this area. So it's a matter of choosing, directing your focus on where you want to get to, how high, how far do you want to go, and then being able to make the necessary sacrifice. And that's what sacrifice is at the end of the day, being able to give up stuff that you love, being able to give up stuff that you hold close to you. Not necessarily give it up, but be able to take a little bit of time away from there, put it over here, boom, put it over here, boom, put it over here. And we got a building block.
Right. Time management.
Right.
And like you said, like you said, Fortnite is the thing, right?
Fortnite is the thing.
And it's not like it's not like you gotta say, I'm done with Fortnite, I'm done with Fortnite.
Right. You don't have to.
But maybe you playing 2 hours a day. Maybe you just play 1 hour a day. Mm-hmm. And that 1 hour you can put it in this little area right here.
Yep.
Right? And because we all got 24. Right? You gotta sleep. Right? You got to. That's for your health. You gotta sleep. Right? And so other hours though, it's like, okay, because even when you sleep, you're putting them hours, like you invest in time in that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm sleep. That's a necessity. Put that there. All right. If I got homework or whatever, or if I work a job, some things you gotta put there, but then it's like, you've got to be able to look. And man, it's like, okay, I can take that here and put that there. You know what I mean? I could take this 30 minutes. I could take 10 minutes from here, 10 minutes from here, 10 minutes from here. That's 30. I could put that 30 right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really what time management is. And you working with student athletes in college, right? Mm-hmm. That's a huge thing, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they still got to do their homework. They got to go to class while still traveling and playing games and being focused on that, knowing they got an assignment to do, knowing that.
Yep.
And so what's one of the biggest, not obstacles, but like, as far as, you know, a student athlete, what do you think is one of their biggest barriers that keeps them from succeeding at the level of play, where they're?
I would say it's the teammates that they keep themselves around.
You said teammates or just friends?
Teammates, friends, whoever it may be. You have to evaluate whoever you're around, right? You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with. Tim Ferriss said that, and when I heard that, I was like, wow, like that's true. And you look at the people, anybody you come across in life, you know, teammates, coaches, they are a product of who they spend the most of their time with.
Right.
So as a coach looking at my players, it's like, okay, what teammates are you spending the most of your time with? What friends, you know, at school are you spending the most of your time with? Who are you coming to work out with? Are you coming to work out with the hardest workers, or guys who are just going to half-ass it when they get in there? And that comes from that awareness. Awareness activates ability, like I said before. So they have to become aware. And what we do is we set out the table, boom, all right, put down all your, we call them firefighters and firelighters, right? People who light your fire, people who motivate you, people who get you going towards your goals. Somebody you can talk to be like, oh, bro, you're good, and lift you up a little bit, give you confidence. And then you got firefighters, people who do the complete opposite of that. And then I have them sit down, evaluate, write them down on paper, because when you write things down, now you can see it. Now it's there, as opposed to just thinking about it in your mind. Now you have it in a hard copy, right? So being able to evaluate those people that they're around, look at it and be like, wow, now that I'm doing this little exercise and I'm doing this little drill, like I gotta stay away from this dude, and this dude. And these three are the people I've been spending the most of my time with. But it just takes something small like that for them to be able to become aware of who they're around. And that's what everybody, that's what myself, that's what you, that's what everybody in here. Right. Like that's what we should do, every, I'd say 2 to 3 months.
Right. So what do you do if you do that list, you write it down, and there's somebody on the list that's, that's not really helping you, they're not really lifting you up. For real, they really do hinder your progress, but that's like your boy.
Right.
Like your boy. What do you do? Do you be like, well?
Sometimes you gotta make sacrifices. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
But do you cut them off? Like, do you just like, dang, I ain't gonna answer this text?
So it's a few different ways you can approach the situation. You can approach the situation in a multitude of different ways. You can make that sacrifice. Be like, all right, just straight cut off.
Right.
Or you can talk to them about it. Let them know that this is what I'm seeing. Like things are gonna have to change in order for us to stick around each other, because I'm trying to get here, and this is what I feel like is going on. So it's just a matter of how you want to approach the situation and how a player wants to approach the situation. But it just depends on the person when it comes to that. For me, throughout my career, it was just an easy cutoff.
Right.
I knew where I was trying to get to. I knew who I needed around me in order to get there.
All right, here goes a tough one. You ready? What if it's somebody's parents?
For somebody's parents, then you have to take away time from being around that parent. Sometimes it's how it is. Sometimes you have very negative parents who bring their kids down, right? I tell that kid, like, do whatever you can do to be away from them. It's your parent, they love you, but you have to, in order to get to where you want to get to, the things that are going in your ears and connecting in here will affect whether or not you get there. That's one of the toughest things to be able to digest. It's like, oh, this is my parent, right? Like that's one of the toughest things to think about. But at the end of the day, like we said before, sacrifices always have to be made in order to really pursue the greatness that you're trying to pursue. You just have to evaluate, how bad you really want something.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if we know that the average, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with. Say you only spend time with 2 people, that's this parent and somebody else who's super negative, right? What's gonna happen to you at the end of the day?
Right.
It's just gonna rub off on you regardless. And this is science. This is how the human brain works. So it's cutthroat, but sometimes you have to be able to do what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, because sacrifice is never easy, right? It's never easy. Anytime you want to sacrifice, like you said, so the person, you probably love the person, love them to death, but like, man, for my self-improvement, I have to make this sacrifice. I can't be around this person. It may be your best friend, but your best friend is doing stuff that you can't be a part of. That that this is not good for me. I need to be here at this time. And there, and a lot of times I see it all the time with athletes. They have goals, and their friends that they don't have that same goal.
Yeah.
Right, and that's fine. Right, you're not gonna always be around somebody with the same goals, but you have to understand you're not always gonna be around that person. You can't always go where they go. You can't do what they do because you're trying to do something greater.
Absolutely. My barber, he's my Uncle Mike. We were having a conversation about a month ago, and he came up with this theory, so to say. He said, in the Bible it says something about blood being thicker than water, right? So being able to hold your family close to you. He came up with, he said, what did he say? He said, energy is thicker than blood. Like people who have the same energy as you do, who are on the same frequency as you are, that's thicker than some people who are going to be your blood. That's just how it goes. Now, earlier, you know, that was kind of a harsh approach, and obviously you could take the same approach, or a player could take the same approach and be like, all right, you know, let me just talk to my parents, just let them know where I'm at, let them know what I'm seeing, and just play the situation by ear, see how it goes. But when he told me that, you know, you really evaluate and you really think about the people, you know, some of your family members, sometimes those can be the people who hinder you the most. Dean Graziosi, he wrote Millionaire Success Habits. He said that the worst advice is bad advice from somebody who doesn't have the same goals as you. So if you want to build $1 million business, if you want to become $1 million athlete, you have to start picking the brains of $1 million athletes, $1 million businessmen. Why would you take advice on business from somebody who's never started their own business? Why would you take advice on basketball, football, baseball, who's never played a sport? Only outside spectators, right?
Right.
That's something else that really stuck with me too. So,
man, all right. I want to fire these different things at you, right? And it's a fill in the blank. All right, it's a fill in the blank, and it's a quick answer.
all right.
You ready?
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
All right. Pressure is
About perception.
the mind is
The strongest thing on the planet.
failure is
Essential to your growth.
winners are
This is a tough one. People who understand how to control their minds.
losers are
Everywhere.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Two last questions, all right?
Yep.
What is greatness?
Greatness is whatever you want it to be, because people's perceptions of greatness are different. Some people's perception of greatness is, you know, having a $1 million company. Some people's perception of greatness is having a $1 billion company. It's just a matter of
Each person. All right, last but not least, favorite question for me to ever ask. When it's all said and done, you've done all you can do. You've achieved all that you want to achieve. You've helped millions of people. Everybody's mindsets are perfect in the world because of Diamyn Hall. What do you want people to say? Diamyn Hall was?
A giver. A giver, somebody who gave all of the knowledge, wisdom through his experience to help other people achieve their goals at the end of the day.
Right.
Because we got to leave this place better than we found it. It's my personal belief, and that's through knowledge.
100%, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it. A great episode, man. Be sure to check him out, follow his journey. Like he was saying, great things coming with him and Under Pressure. We're going to be working together with a lot of new great things, so I'm excited about that. Check us out, Under Pressure TV, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Website, underpressuretv.com. New merch, new apparel. Go check it out. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Once again, appreciate you guys for watching. Like you said, hopefully that you got something from it. I'm sure you did. He dropped a lot of gems, a lot of knowledge. I learned a lot, and so I'm sure you did too. It's the pursuit of greatness with Diamyn Hall. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, bro.
Awesome.
From a place where the pain gon' show. From the block, watch your rose gon' grow. Put the show on the road. People doubted, so I'm kicking down the door. Oh no, I never sell my soul. Gotta stick to the code. To the top, I ain't never coming down. Through the hurt, man, I still keep a smile. I'ma be here for a while. Want the people around the world to hear the sound. Greatness, I ain't never stopping now. I ain't never stopping now. From a place where the pain gon' show. From the block, watch your rose gon' grow. Put the show on the road.